Echu memale kol almin, v'sovev kol almin, v'kula kamei kela chashiv. How God fills the entire world, encompasses the entire world, and everything is invaluable is not valuable in front of him. These are three categories. The first is he fills the world. Everything in the world is filled by God. God is the creator of every single creation, of every little thing and every great thing, from the micro to the macro, from the literal breakups, the ant, the leg of the ant, even smaller, the atoms that make up every fiber of this world is filled by God. And then the macro, the planets, the sun, the stars, the galaxies, how everything is filled by God. That's one kind of delving and processing the greatness of God. And the second category is called when God, the fact that God encompasses the world. And encompassing doesn't, God forbid, mean like in terms of space, because God is beyond space. Instead, what does it mean? It means that God creates the world, but because he's beyond it, he doesn't actually reveal himself in it. But he is the one that's creating it, but at the same time, he doesn't come into it. And that is can be explained by the parable of someone thinking about something. When you think about a certain object, let's say a cup or a bowl or a car, let's say, you can think about in your mind right now is, so to speak, encompassing that car and the outside of the car and the inside of the car and all of its little parts to the most inside part of that object, of that car. Your mind is encompassing the entirety of that thing, of that object. But obviously it's not literal. The car is not inside your head. It's not inside your brain. It's not inside of your thoughts, literally. But by God, it's different. And that's the parable. By God, his thought of the world, the universe, and everything from big to small is all literally encompassed in God's thought, so to speak. And the entirety of creation and the inside of it and the most inward parts, the biggest to the most inside, the outside to the inside, everything, the highest to the low, is encompassed by God's thought, so to speak. And that being said, we're talking about a level in God which is beyond the limitations of this world, and therefore we call it encompassing, because it doesn't actually reveal itself in the world, because it's beyond the world. It's here, and it's what's powering the creation to be able to exist, but it's beyond the world. That's the second category that we think about, and that we're giving an example of someone thinking about and delving and understanding this concept of God's greatness. The third category that we mention is something that is the fact that nothing has any significance to God. Everything is completely insignificant in front of God, and that is beyond both of the first two categories. That is as follows. The second category we said, where God is beyond the world, it's like he encompasses the world. That would mean that there's a world, there's levels in the world, and God, to God, they are the same. You have the lowest and smallest level, and you have the highest level, and they are the same to God. It's like, for example, a circle. A circle, there's no high point or low point. The high and low is equal in a circle. So too, the second category, which is the category of encompassing, high and low are equal. But a circle still is limited in the fact that it encompasses everything inside of it. And that meaning that there's there's a big circle and there's a small circle. A circle it's relative to what's inside of it. So the second category, God encompasses the worlds. It's beyond everything that exists, but it's still relative to whatever's inside. He's greater than the creations that are inside. The third level, there's no circles. There's no things that exist inside. Everything is literally insignificant. It's as if it doesn't exist. It does exist and it doesn't exist at the same time. Because God is so great that he can create a contradiction like that. And that can be understood through which we'll see actually later in chapter 21 and 22, if I'm not mistaken. We'll see that that's actually, that can be understood by a parable of a teacher. That's a brilliant teacher, is a genius professor, and he has to teach a concept that he understands on his level to, let's say, a young student that doesn't know much on his level. So what does he have to do, the teacher? The teacher has to take this a lofty concept and bring it down into the words of the student. And basically, the student should be able to understand the words that the teacher gives him. So when the student looks at the words, then the student is able to understand it. Now when the teacher looks at those very same words, he sees it on his understanding. And it's like, for example, the teacher sees it on his understanding, which is way beyond the understanding of the student. It's like, for example, a child's game. When you play, let's say a child plays Monopoly. Okay, Monopoly, for example, you have money, right? You have a $5 bill, you have a $100 bill, you have a $1,000 bill, right? And a kid is playing this game, and it's, wow, $5, $10, $1,000, wow, he gets all excited, it's so big, and it's money, right? And then an adult decides to join the child to play the game, and for the adult, it's just paper. $5 in Monopoly money and $1,000 in Monopoly money for the adult is equal. And it's all insignificant to him. So that's the same thing by this third level of God, so to speak. That everything that we view as great, big, small, whatever, we view there's something big, there's something small, there's different levels and so on. By God, number one, because he's so great, and number two, because he's the one that creates it, therefore, it's all insignificant in his eyes. So, giving you a little bit of background of the thinking process that goes behind this person that's thinking, and like I said before, trying to understand the greatness of God. Again, three categories of Memale, filling the world, and encompassing the world, and the fact that nothing has significance in front of him.